Okay, here we are in After Effects. This is our project window. This is our composition where we see the things. We're going to be working in 3D, so we will be changing this view so that we can see it in 3D. For now, let's just look in one view. This is our composition timeline. And right now we have a camera, 2 lights, and these shapes, and a background. If you want to zoom in on your timeline, you can do that here, but we're going to keep it zoomed out for the moment. Okay, so this has been, I've kind of already put this one together, and it kind of slowly rotates a little bit like the Calder. This is the preview button, which you can go to the beginning or the end, and you can move forward. You can also, if your window doesn't look like this, you can go up to Window, Workspace, and choose Animation. And if it still looks weird, go to Workspace and reset Animation to save layout. All right, so now let's go to a simpler version of this composition. So let's go to Composition 6, and you see here I have, this is all flat. You can also resize these windows if you wish to, and zoom in or out with your mouse. Let's figure out what we want to do. First of all, I made these shapes in Illustrator, and there's one shape that I'm going to show you how I added them. So this is our Composition 6. This is the shape I want to add. I'm going to take it with my left mouse, smash it down, and drag it down here. Let's see, I want it to go on the top. So I'm going to put it, well, I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to put it down here underneath the second layer. I want to move it, so I'm going to press P for position, and now I can move it up and down. It's going to push it up there a little bit. I can also scale it if I want to by pressing S for scale, and you can scale it down, and then you can press P and move it over. Okay, but I also need to change it into a shape layer. If you look at these are all these are shape layers, After Effects shape layer, and this is a Illustrator shape layer. And it's not going to behave the same way that these are because I've already converted these, but we need to convert this one into an After Effects shape layer. So I want you to click on it with your left mouse, and then right mouse click and hold, and go to Create, and change do Create Shapes from Vector Layer. Okay, so it's going to make a After Effects shape out of it. Okay, and then Release. And you see here it made a shape layer. We can get rid of that original one that we put in there by clicking with our left mouse and then hitting backspace to get rid of it. And there's our shape layer, and it's now more analogous to these other ones. Okay, so it's still, I think I need to change its scale a little bit. I'm going to scale it in a tiny bit more and maybe move its position. Okay, I'm also going to change its color a bit because I want it to match these other ones. So if I click on one of these, oh, you can also see that I've renamed all of these. So I'm going to rename this one too. I'm going to select it, right mouse click, and choose rename. And I'm going to say top. So you see now I have top, second, third, fourth, bottom. Okay, so let's take a look at the second one here. And you can see that it's made up of 2 shapes. Okay, and let's select the color here for this this little whatever you call that connector. Oops, there we go. I'm going to zoom in on it and move my mouse over. Okay, there we go. Your space bar allows you to move around. Okay, so I can see with this one that it's made out of 2 things. Let's take a look at the stem, and you can see this is its fill color. I'm going to double click there, and I'm going to steal that hex number by selecting it and pressing Control Z or Command C, say OK, and then select this one, and let's figure out which one's which. Okay, So it's group 2. Now we're going to add that same fill color here, double click, and then put that number there. So you're going to Control V or Command V, whichever you're on, a PC or a Mac. You can also change this color too if it doesn't seem like it really fits. So you could double click, and you could even use your picker and maybe then just change, make it a little darker, a little lighter, whatever you wish. Okay, so now it's a little bit more analogous. We want to make these into 3D layers. Okay, and hopefully you see this 3D here. If by accident you have Track Matte open, then click down here at the bottom of your timeline for toggle switch and choose to modes so that you can see this 3D item here. All right, so let's select all of your items here, including these shapes and this back wall, and let's select, and then this left mouse click on under the 3D layer here, and they'll do all of them at once. Okay, that's great. So now they're all 3D layers. They're all a little bit hidden though behind that back wall. So let's just move them forward a bit. I'm going to just select them all and press P for position. And then let's move those all forward towards the camera. And it's actually a negative number. So you're going to move, I'm just putting my mouse there in the left and the third set of numbers and moving to the left to move it forward. And if you wish, you can just type in a number. So let's do -160, say. Oops, I messed that up. So I guess I have to do those individually. So let's type that in, -160, -160. There's probably an easier way to do this, but let's just do it this way for now. -160. Okay, and then let's leave the, oh yeah, we want this one to be -162. All right, and let's lock the back wall so we don't accidentally move it. And the lock button is here. You can look here and it's underneath, there's a little lock. Let's lock that. Okay, save your work. So now these are all the same distance from the wall, and they're all in 3D. We can't really tell yet, but I'll show you in a minute. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and change our view. So right here, I'm going to left mouse click and choose 2 views. And now I can see that if I move around, remember you can use your mouse to kind of dolly back and forth. And if you press Alt left mouse, you can kind of rotate around. You can kind of see now that they are in front of that back wall. Okay. And if you feel like the back wall is still a little too close, which could be helpful to move it back, you can unlock it and move, press P for the back wall, and you could actually move that back a bit. You can also move it down if you wish. Okay. All right, that's pretty good. So let's just go back to 1 view for a second. No, let's leave it at 2 view. Okay. Let's leave it at 2 view for now. Spin that around. Just so you know, you can change the camera view of these by clicking, left mouse clicking at the window, and you can change the custom view here. Let's say we wanted to do custom view 2, custom view 3, and then they're all changeable. Okay. So let's add a light, and it's going to change the way things look. Let's go up to Layer, New, and Light. And first of all, let's make a ambient light. So I'm going to click Light Type, Ambient. I'm going to just make it a white light. And that's good. Well, I guess, the ambient light really doesn't have much of a position, but we can change its qualities by bringing up the intensity here. Okay, so again, there's our ambient light. To change the intensity, you press T. I'm not really sure why T, but you see there it's intensity. Let's bring that up to, I don't know, yeah, 68 maybe. Okay, and it just kind of floods it a bit. Maybe it's too much. Let's bring it down to 45. I'll show you why in a second. because we're going to add a spotlight too. So let's go up to layer again. You might not be able to see the word layer, but just trust me. Go to layer, left mouse click, new, and then light again. And this time let's choose a spotlight and let's turn on cast shadows. And you can change the intensity of your shadows now or later, but let's just make sure we have that on. Okay, and you can change the intensity here too. Let's bring it up to 100. Oops, it exceeds 100, so just type in 100. And there you go. You can see now the spotlight's quite different from the ambient light. And if you wish, you can change the position of things here in this window. Again, remember, we have two windows open and one of them is a custom view. Okay, and you can always change your custom view by just rotating around. I'm pressing my left mouse, my Alt button, or Command or Control, whichever works on your computer. Okay, so again, I'm going to select my spotlight, and you can pull it back. Let's see if maybe if I look above, you can click on it's one of its arrows here. This one's the blue one is the Z, and you can pull it in or out. You can use the Y or green to move it up, and this one red is X. It moves it back and forth. Okay, and you can see it's it's fairly strong. We might actually want to change the ambient light's intensity now. So remember, it's T for intensity. I'm just gonna move that up, and let's just bring the ambient light down a bit, and because we can see the spotlight a bit more. Let's press T for the spotlight, and this maybe you can leave it maybe 90. Okay, you can also change some other things about that light if you wish. You can change the cone angle. You can kind of bring it up or down. I'll just bring it up a bit because we want a fair amount of light here. Okay, so just again, so you can see where that is. I have a lot of stuff open here. So ambient light has some different things you can change. You can change its color, its intensity, but let's just bring it to maybe 20. And I'm going to turn that up, twirl that up. Spotlight has a bunch of different things. Its intensity is here. Its cone angle is here. Okay, and its shadows, you can turn off shadows if you wish. Turn on, you can intensify the darkness, or you can kind of bring it down a bit. Okay, the shadow intensity. Okay, so that's the spotlight. That's good. All looks pretty good. It looks like I have a little bit of animation there from an earlier version of this, but let's take a look at that. Okay. Oh, you know what it is? I realize now I do have a little bit of rotation still left on these from my lap from when I copied it over. So I'm just going to take that off. This is a good lesson. So you can see that these ones, those three in the middle have some rotation in the Z. So I'm just going to take that off. I'm going to move my mouse to the beginning here and just click there, this little stopwatch, and it'll get rid of any rotation there. So let's do the same one here for the third one. I'm going to click it off. Okay. And the fourth one, rotation, click it off. Okay, let's see if this one has any. Nope. And let's see about the top. Nope. Okay, good enough. All right, so let's take a look at how we rotate. So I'm going to go to the beginning of my timeline. I'm going to start with the top one, which is this one. And I can see now that its pivot point is kind of off there. So if I want to move the pivot point, see, I'll just show you as an example. This pivot point actually looks pretty good. You can see it's kind of in a good position there, right, for that one. But this one, it's off. So I'm going to move the pivot point. The way to do that is to use this tool right here. So move your mouse up with your left mouse and click on it. And then you're going to move that pivot point over to where you think it should be. Oops. On that that item. Okay, so again, it's that one. It's this pivot point tool. Okay, And there we go. Okay, let's test that out by rotating it. Let's see what happens when we rotate it, say in Y. Okay, so now it seems to be rotating in a pretty good fashion. You can test out the other areas too. Okay, so that's good. So again, that's the pivot behind point. Say you decide you don't like where that one is, you can change that too. You can click it and then move the pivot point. Okay, so again, let's go to the top and let's go to the beginning of our timeline. And let's create a keyframe for keyframe for all 3 rotations, right? And so that gave us a rotation keyframe there. Let's go to the end here. Make sure your item goes all the way to the end. And let's rotate in Y to begin with. And we're going to rotate it towards the camera. Okay. And if we watch it, it takes a second to render, but it'll move towards the camera. Okay, good enough. Let's do the same for this one here. Let's turn on rotate. We'll give it a keyframe for all 3 of these at the beginning. Remember, you're at the beginning. Go to the end of the timeline and let's rotate that in Y towards the camera. Okay, and we'll do the same with the third. Rotate, give it a keyframe in all, because I'll show you why in a second. We're at the beginning of the timeline. Go to the end of the timeline and let's do Y. Okay. And same with the fourth. Press R for rotate. Keyframe all 3 at the beginning. Oops. Let's take that off. I'm going to redo it. Go to the beginning and give it a keyframe. That's our first keyframe at 0, 0, 0. Go to the end, which is 9 seconds, 23 frames, and I'm going to rotate it and Y out. And here's our bottom rotation tool. Go to the beginning of your timeline, give it a keyframe, move to the end, and let's rotate that in Y only. Okay, now we're going to go that all the way over with that. Okay. It's okay. It's a little bit boring. Here, I'm going to just, I'm going to render it. I'll come back in a second. Okay, so that finished rendering. And by the way, you can also move your camera in and out just in terms of your view of it by using your middle mouse. And just so you know, I changed the intensity of my lights a bit. If you want to see that intensity, you can press T here and you can change it here. Same with the ambient light. I turn my ambient light up a little bit and your spotlight up a little bit. Okay, so it looks all right, but let's just I'm gonna zoom in a bit here with both of these. Maybe I'll move. You can use your space bar to move around. If you want to lock anything that you don't want to accidentally move, that's always a good idea. So I'm gonna lock my 2 lights now. But I'm going to leave these other things open so that we can change them. Okay, so let's look at the bottom one. I'm going to use the space bar to move it over. And it's, it's pretty good, but you can also change the beginning position of the rotation here because that might add a little interest. So you could rotate that one in the starting position. Okay, I'm at the 0. You could also do like a little rotation in Z and X just to, give it some life. And, you could kind of make it sort of jump a little bit in different places by changing the Z and the X because it's mostly going to rotate in Y, but we could kind of play around with that a bit just for fun. Oops, I didn't want to do that one. I'll do this one. Okay, so that's sort of nice. And then let's do that with the fourth. So open up rotation. Let's give it an initial, go back to frame 0. Initial negative rotation in Y. And also just give it a tiny rotation in X and Z. And, you can kind of play around with that a little bit. Just small changes here and there. I'm just moving through the timeline. Doesn't have to be much, you know, just a little bit here and there to just have fun with it. Okay, I'm going to twirl that one, twirl that one. You could also lock those for a moment. Let's go to the third, open up the rotation, go to the beginning of your timeline, have that one rotated back a bit at frame 0 and Y, and then just a tiny rotation in Z and X, and move forward in time, rotate it, and I'm just doing those at different times so that they have a different kind of quality to them. See, let's go to the very end, rotate that down, rotate that up. Okay. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's close that one and lock it just for a minute. Save. Let's go to the second one, open the rotation by pressing R. Let's go to the beginning of the timeline. I'm going to rotate it back a bit in Y. Maybe I'll go back even further with that one and do just a little bit of rotation depending on how I want it to look. And, you know, just play around with that. Try to give it a little life. Maybe a little bounciness here and there. Yeah. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now let's take a look at the top one. I'm going to close that, lock that for a second. Close that, lock that for a second. Go to top, press R. This is the beginning. I'm going to move that back and Y. Maybe I'll have this one move forward actually a little bit. And then rotate it a bit. Rotate it a bit. And let's have that, you know, just sort of gently bounce around in X and Z. So again, the big rotation is in Y, but I'm just having it kind of go up and down a bit in different spots in time. And oops, I don't want it to do that much. Something like that. Okay, so that one has a different, this one has a different feel. It feels a little strange there though. So what if we don't have it quite so, actually maybe it goes back even further. Oh, and it disappears into the backdrop. If that's the case, you know what we could do, oops, I don't want it to do that, is we could move the background a bit. Okay, so let's just twirl that up. Let's unlock the backdrop. Let's open the position by pressing it and pressing P. And we need to go back even further with that, so that now if we want to, with the top, I'm going to press R, we could, we're at the very beginning, we could rotate it back even further without it disappearing there. Okay, so take a look, make sure you don't have any keyframes in the back of the back wall, and you can unlock it. Let's see how that looks. Save. It's going to zoom out here for a second, and you can always use your mouse to move that around. I'm gonna press play and render it, and I'll see you in a second while that renders. Okay, so it finished rendering. It looks pretty good. You could adjust that some more if you wish. Let's save. You know, if you want to have another wall, like you're in a building, sort of just a set, you could unlock the back wall, and you could duplicate this if you want. You could go up to edit, duplicate, and it might take a second to figure out how to, let's rename that to call that left wall. And it might take you a few tries to just try to get it in the right position. I'm going to slide it over. And then I'm also going to rotate it. I'm going to press Shift R so I can see rotation too. Oops, that's not the right way. Would that be 90? Yeah, that needs to be 90. And now we need to move it back so it creates, excuse me, kind of a wall back there. Okay, so you could create kind of a room that way if you wish. You know, you'd have to, looks like it needs to come that way still some more. You know, you could create a wall on the other side too. You could move those down. You could also scale them if they aren't big enough. Same with the back wall. Same with this one. Press scale. Okay. The reason for that is that if you want to move your camera around, basically, like if I go back to front view, that's what I have, right? Okay, so what happens if I want to create a camera? Okay, so I have all those locked, which is good. And you can see here, you know, this camera right here. Let's click. You can, the way you change the camera is with 2 up is to click on the left and you get these little blue arrows and you can change that camera. Let's change that to camera 2. And remember, I can move around there. And then click here and that says active camera. You could also look at it from the top and from other places. Okay, so, but why don't we create a camera? So let's go up to Layer, New, Camera, and we'll do a 28mm. Look through that camera. So make sure you're clicked here. Look for your camera view and look through your camera there. Okay. Now let's go over here. Let's make this our active and let's just look through and let's click on the camera. Okay. And we can see where it is now. We can move in and out here with that. And we could also rotate it. What happens if we rotate it, say, in that view? Now we could see that other wall. It's a little hard to see, but maybe that's where we want to start. That might be kind of interesting. So let's go to the beginning time frame and let's give it a orientation camera click time keyframe. And then let's rotate that back around. Let's see, what does that look like? So it kind of rotates back around, which is, I don't know, just kind of interesting, right? And then let's make sure we get a keyframe here. Make sure that's keyframed. And let's also, oops, move back around. And then let's also move in position. So I'm going to press P for position. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's give it a keyframe. Move to the end. And then what happens if we move in with that camera? Maybe that's kind of interesting, right? So we rotate over and then we kind of move in. And maybe we kind of move over too. No. Maybe over a little bit. No. Maybe like that. What do you think? So we come in and we move over. Okay, save. I'm going to press play and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so that worked out pretty well. Camera moves over as it animates. Let's just leave it for now. I'm going to go back to one view and we see how it works. Works pretty well. Save your work, and this is composition 6 that we're working with right here. So if we want to render this out as a video, that's another process. So select on your composition, go to File, go to Export, and go to Adobe Media Encoder Q. Might take a second for that to open. It took a second for it to open and for this to populate. So here it is. This is our composition 6. We can click on it and we could tell it where to go. I'm gonna put it there and call mine test 3. Whoops. Save. And if you want to change anything about the way that the video is rendered, this might take a second, you can do that here. You can change the kind of rendering that it's doing. but this is fine with me. Okay, so it looks like it's ready. Okay, I know where it's going. It's going to this folder. I know what kind of render it's going to do. Now, I know this is a little hard to see, but there's a little green arrow here on the upper right, and that's what you have to press to get it to render. So it might take a second. I'll be right back. Okay, so it finished. I can close this. I'm just gonna make that smaller. And I'm gonna look in my Coder folder. And there it is, test 3. Let's take a look at it. It's a little duller than it was in After Effects, so you might want to go back in and pump up your lights there. But you could also open this in Premiere and mess with the contrast there. But it's kind of interesting. I'm sure you can do better, and I look forward to seeing what you all do. Okay, that's it.